once again to our show that is called Real Shame. It's a show where we watch movies from our movie list of shame or movie blind spots. And this month we're watching horror movies. I'm Adam.
I'm Andy.
This month we're watching horror movies, and this week specifically we've watched 2 vampire movies so far. And for our 300th, cue fireworks, cue the kazoos, the confetti. For this one, it should be our 300th episode. We decided to do an iconic vampire movie. And to tell us about that movie, I'm going to toss it over to Andy. What are we doing?
An early silent adaptation of the Dracula tale. Count Orlok, not Count Dracula, Count Orlok sets his evil sights on the town of Visborg in Nosferatu. So Nosferatu, I mentioned this at the end of the last episode on Wednesday, turns 100 years old this year. Came out in 1922. That's 100 years ago, if you can do math. I can barely do it, but yes, 2022, 1922, that makes 100. It's directed by F.W. Murnau. F.W. Murnau was a German filmmaker who made movies like The Last Laugh, Faust, and he came to America and made movies like Sunrise. Screenplay by Henrik Galeen. And once again, this is just like Dracula, which we did on Monday. This is based on Bram Stoker's Dracula, which was published in 1897. Unfortunately, the makers of Nosferatu, I mean, they knew that they were adapting Dracula, but they did not get the rights to do so. But they did, they changed all the names, and it is slightly different than what you'd expect. But still, Bram Stoker had died, but his widow took them to court and won. She won a legal battle against them. So essentially, they were supposed to pull all the prints of Nosferatu out of circulation.
I heard they were supposed to destroy them.
They pull them out and or destroy them. But they, luckily for us, did not destroy them. And 100 years later, we can still enjoy, or maybe not enjoy Nosferatu. I don't know how you feel about it, or how do I feel about it? We don't know. But the production company that made Nosferatu is called Prana Film. This was their only film. All thanks to Bram Stoker's widow. Damn you.
She ruined him.
She did, yeah. This is the only movie that Prana Film ever made. But, oh well. C'est la vie. It stars Max Schreck, and incidentally, Schreck is a German word meaning fright, so it's appropriate. Max Schreck, and that was his real name, plays Count Orlok, or Nosferatu. Gustav von Wangenheim plays Thomas Hutter. Greta Schroeder plays Ellen Hutter. So Thomas Hutter is essentially the Jonathan Harker character. Count Orlok is obviously the Dracula character. Ellen Hutter is the Mina Seward character, or Mina Harker character, because I think she eventually does marry Jonathan Harker. Alexander Granach plays Knock, and Knock is essentially the Renfield character.
Yep.
And John Gotout plays Professor Bulwer, and he's essentially the Van Helsing character. So you've got all the equivalents of the actual Dracula.
It's like the store brand version.
It's the store brand version of the Dracula characters. We
have the Mr. Pepper. We got the...
These are the Great Value.
Yeah, Great Value.
The Great Value guys.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, they're the discount store brand version. Yeah, so because they could not actually call him Dracula Sugar. Love those sugar. Gotta love those Sugar-Os. So this is a movie that I have seen before. It's been a long time. I think this is one of those movies that when I was first kind of getting into films, I was like, I need to watch some silent films, and I'd seen like a still from Nosferatu of Max Schreck looking all creepy with his claws and his pointy nose and everything, and I was like, ooh, that looks cool. So I believe I watched it. I mean, probably back in the 90s. Don't really remember anything about it. So, I mean, watching it this time was essentially like watching it for the first time. And I don't remember really how I felt about it the first time I saw it, honestly. But this is a movie that you have never seen.
Never seen.
So, did I go first on Near Dark? I think I might have.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to let you go first. Also, since I've done a bunch of talking here in the intro, I'll let you go first and tell us, what did you know about Nosferatu going into it? Did you know it was the 100th anniversary? And what did you feel about this movie, Nosferatu?
I did not know it was 100th anniversary, but I do now.
I didn't either.
I didn't know much about it. I mean, I think like everyone, and kind of like Dracula, I said on Monday, I've seen images and stills from it. I kind of know a little bit about it. It's like a German expressionist. It's one of the German expressionist kind of movies. I'm wondering if Max Schreck is wearing like a nose prosthetic in it or not. Or
Yeah,
is that
I
his
believe
actual
he
nose?
is. I believe he is.
It's interesting.
He is.
And I remember
The fingernails are his, though.
Oh,
No, I don't know.
I remember in like the 2000s, there's a movie that came out called Shadow the Vampire.
Yes.
With that's kind of about the making of this that has Willem Dafoe.
Yep.
Playing Max Schreck. I have not seen that, but
Nor I.
I've wanted to check that out. But I've also wanted to watch this before I check that out. So now that I've done one of those, I can do the other.
Real quick before you get into the meat of it.
Yeah.
Did you watch this before or after Dracula?
So yeah,
Okay.
I'm glad you asked that. So I thought I was gonna like Dracula more, and I wanted to watch everything in chronological order. So I watched this before I watched Dracula.
Okay.
So
I was the other way around.
Okay, so you watched Dracula, then you watched this. So I watched this before I watched Dracula because I thought I was gonna like Dracula more, and like I alluded to on Monday episode, and like I'm alluding to now, I was actually surprised on how much I liked this movie. I thought it had a vibe going to it. I liked the way it looked. I thought it just looked stark. I liked the coloring and everything. I just really liked the way the movie was rendered. I thought it was very, very cool. I thought it was very interesting looking. I'm trying to find another word other than cool. Yeah. I just liked the how dark the darks were, the contrast between it, the way everything's kind of shot a little bit. I thought it was really interesting. One thing I remembered about Dracula that drove me crazy is you never see him get out of the coffin in Dracula on Monday's episode. Mm-hmm. You see the coffin open, and then the camera will just move over here, and then it'll come back, and he's just like standing up, which drove me crazy. I'm like, why don't you just show him? Like, I don't know why they could. I don't know. It's weird.
That was sinful.
No, I don't know. So it was weird. So I really like this. Like I thought it told the Dracula story well. I found it really captivating. Like everything that was done to it, I just thought it was really cool. The font choices were awesome looking. Hard to read sometimes. Like I had to look up that Hutter's name was Hutter because it was a lowercase h instead of a capital H. And I'm like, that's weird. But like seeing the interesting font choices and all that kind of stuff was cool and interesting. And again, I liked it. I thought it was cool. It was a vibe, as the kids say.
Hell yeah!
So I enjoyed this one a lot. I thought it was just interesting and it was captivating. And like I was worried that since it was going to be a silent movie, that my attention was gonna wander and it was gonna be hard for me to. It was gonna be like I was gonna have to really focus and put a lot of mindfulness into focusing it. But no, I was raptured the whole way. So I actually really enjoyed Nosferatu. I was surprised on how much I liked it. So, big surprise. I actually liked it a lot.
Good deal.
So you said you've seen it a few times. What'd you remember? Did you remember liking Nosferatu?
I know. I don't remember much.
Oh, yeah. So you saw it years ago.
Yeah, I just don't remember. I mean, I remember Max Schreck looking all creepy. So going into it here, I mean, I didn't really have any remembrance of kind of how I felt about it then. It's okay overall. I think I prefer Dracula, the Bela Lugosi Dracula to this. I don't dislike this. So I watched Dracula before I watched this. So it's interesting. It's really cool in this just to see
the similarities,
in this and Dracula. And I mean Max Schreck as Count Orlok or Nosferatu makes it, because he's so creepy looking. Yeah. He's very slim. I don't know how tall he is, but because he's so skinny, he looks like Slender Man or somebody. Yeah. He walks without moving his arms, so that makes anybody look otherworldly, an alien.
And they do cool things like with the shadows, like makes his fingers
that
look
stuff
super
is awesome.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the very, very cool shots in this movie. There's shots where he's just like standing there, and maybe he's in the background, and he's like walking forward, not moving his arms. Looks really cool. And then all those things where he's like coming up the stairs, and you see the shadows and everything. All that stuff is really cool. I think my biggest beef with this is that I feel like not a whole lot happens. Like, I mean, seriously,
the same amount that happens in Dracula happens in this.
Nah, but to me, Dracula is just more interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's because they condensed it all and it's shorter. I don't know. Although it's not that much shorter. This movie's only about an hour and a half, I think. But I felt like it took him forever to get to Visborg. Like Dracula gets to. I don't even remember where he is in the London, close
Abbey,
to London.
Right?
Yeah, Carfax Abbey, like near London or something like that. But I feel like he gets there pretty quickly in Dracula. In this movie, it felt like a lot of time was spent in Transylvania before they finally got to. And I mean, yes, it has some cool and creepy imagery there, but to me it just felt slow and kind of ponderous. Although Count Orlok himself is not slow. That dude is fast. Yeah. He's like near and all, and those kind of effects and stuff I thought were cool.
Yeah, vampire speed.
Yeah.
Or like the stuff on the carriage and stuff was cool, like how they kind of sped it up and stuff.
I like all that stuff. So again, I don't dislike this movie. I just feel like I prefer Dracula to it, but I don't think this is bad. And I think Max Schreck as Count Orlok looks really cool and creepy, and looks obviously much creepier than Bela Lugosi does as Dracula. And you know, Bela Lugosi's more like suave and all this kind of thing. He's a count, right? In this movie, Count Orlok is just a creepy looking, alien, freaky looking dude. So I think he looks cool. And yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There's some really, really cool shots and cinematography in it and the colors and everything. But it's a little bit slow and ponderous to me. I also wrote down, I feel like Knock and Bulver are a bit superfluous, especially Bulver. What does he really do in the movie? The Van Helsing character. You see him like talking to his students and stuff, and then at the end, she's like, summon Dr. Bulver as Nosferatu's coming to get her. Does he do anything else in the movie? I don't remember he doesn't. So I was like, why is he even here? Like, I mean, it's the analog to the Van Helsing character, but he really does nothing in the movie. I was like, what's going on with that guy? Knock does a bit more in the movie, but not as much as Renfield does. Knock is basically in the asylum most of the movie, trying to eat flies and stuff. He finally escapes. They chase him around a bit, and then they catch him and bring him back, and that's it. Yeah. So he has no real interaction with him other than he gets Orlok's letter at the beginning, but they don't ever meet face to face. And I'm not saying it needs to be exactly like Dracula, but I felt like those characters didn't add much to the movie.
At least we didn't have the stupid guy that was like head of the ward. Like we did in Dracula.
I like that guy's funny. I like that guy.
It's not funny.
Oh, I like that guy. He's like, oh, everybody's crazy here.
He's like doing like the Dick Van Dyke
except
like
us.
Cockney accent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, let me sweet your chimney real quick.
Yeah, I like that. He's like, everybody's crazy here except you and me, and I have my doubts about you. She's like, I like that guy. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, again, I don't dislike this movie. It's okay, and obviously I understand its classic status. I think Count Orlok, Max Schreck looks really cool, but if I'm going to pick between Nosferatu and Dracula, I'm going Dracula.
All right. Well, you know where I stand on that. The other thing I wrote in my notes, like I wrote on Dracula, is just, you know, how common was that vampire mythology at this point? Because some of that dialogue just felt like it's winking at the camera. And again, that might be 100 years later, numerous vampire movies later.
Yeah.
When he says that stuff, it's like back then it probably was more sincere. But now it's just kind of like, it's like, it feels like it's kind of winking at the camera a little bit. But to me, that kind of gives it like a little bit modern flair to it, where it's just kind of like, yeah, you know, we're making a vampire movie. Yeah. You know, vampires are like this and stuff like that. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, I thought I thought it was cool. I liked it. I want to see Shadow of the Vampire now.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. We'll have to watch that.
Apparently, I guess Schreck was like the Daniel Day-Lewis of his day. At least that's what I gathered from the trailer of Shadow of the Vampire. So he thought he was trying to be a vampire back then.
Oh yeah, he was very immersed in the character. He started biting people's necks and doing what. And when the sun came out, he vanished.
But I think
Max Schreck never did another movie.
I think in this movie you
dissipated.
You don't see him bite people, but you
don't.
But you do see bite marks, because wasn't one he like looks
Yeah,
at the neck.
yeah.
He's like, it looks like two mosquito bites.
Right.
But he does a cool thing with the heart and the shadow where he's like controlling her. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on the Nosferatu train.
You're on the Nosferatu train.
Yeah.
I'm on it, but I'm more towards the back. I don't know.
I'm kicking the conductor out. I'm driving this train.
But you solved a murder mystery after watching this movie. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm watching I think 4K version of this movie, high def, and so I don't know when they filmed this if they thought people were going to be able to see that clearly or not or what. But apparently, I noticed that whenever Count Orlok sent a letter to both to Knock and his boss and was opening it, there seemed to be not really legible like Latin-based writing on there. It seemed to be more symbols and stuff like that. And I don't know how they write in Transylvania, but I don't think it's that.
Yeah.
So the only thing that brought to mind was the notes that the Zodiac Killer left behind. So I am saying it now that Nosferatu, Count Orlok, is the Zodiac Killer. I mean, he's a vampire.
You heard it here first.
He's a vampire, so he could live to the 70s.
That's right.
And he did. And he's a Zodiac Killer.
That's right.
Look at his
Jake Gyllenhaal. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You couldn't find it.
Jake Gyllenhaal, RDJ, captured Count Orlok because it's not Ted Cruz. It's Count Orlok.
Be on the lookout for Count Orlok.
I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think they did? I mean, do you think they figured no one would be able to see it, so they just put stuff on there to make it look like it's
I just thought that they were like, this guy wouldn't write in any kind of traditional way, so let's make him just write in like these weird symbols.
Well, that makes like the Thomas or the guys much better because they were able to decipher it.
Yeah.
They're like they took this note full of symbols and they're like, oh, this dude needs to buy some land, so we're gonna sell him some land.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. So we mentioned that this is 100 years old. We've said that several times. There's a 100th anniversary. This movie's already on Blu-ray. It has multiple versions on Blu-ray, but there's a 100th anniversary Blu-ray coming out next week.
Oh,
yep. So Universal Classic Horror Monsters 4K Volume 2 and 100th anniversary Nosferatu Blu-ray, both coming to a store near you or an online store near you. Amazon or wherever you shop next week.
I might have to pick this one up on the 100th anniversary Blu-ray.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that it's packed with some cool extras.
Features,
and stuff.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I mean, I don't even know what the other Blu-ray releases have on them, but
maybe there's a Spanish version.
There might be.
That'd be cool.
I'm down. I'll watch it.
There was like a Nosferatu the Vampire that came out in the 70s with
Klaus Kinski.
Klaus Kinski.
It's a Werner Herzog movie.
Is that pretty close to this? Do you know anything about that movie?
Yeah, I've seen that one too, but I think it's close to this. Okay. I believe it's kind of just his version of Nosferatu that he made in the late 70s.
All right.
With the crazy Klaus Kinski, his best fiend, Klaus Kinski. But yeah, you mentioned the Shadow of the Vampire 2000 movie. That guy that directed. He hasn't directed hardly anything. He made Shadow of the Vampire. He made something else after that, and I cannot remember the name of it. But the movie that he made before Shadow of the Vampire is that movie Begotten, which I've never seen, but I've always heard is disgusting. It's like a black and white, really, really avant-garde like art film, which is disgusting to watch. It'll make you throw up. It'll make you throw up repeatedly. I don't know, but I've always heard it was really
Stay tuned for our live reaction to watching.
Putting Begotten on my list. I've never seen it. I don't think I've seen any of them. I think he's done like 3 films. I haven't seen any of them. Shadow of the Vampire is among them.
We should do our first and only reaction film to Begotten.
We can.
Where you can see on camera while we watch it live if we throw up.
we can maybe.
If we get to 1,000 subscribers. I will make that happen.
Okay. It's a deal. So I did want to mention also for fans of Batman Returns, you probably know this, but Christopher Walken's character in that movie is Max Schreck. In Batman Returns, he plays Max Schreck. He's not playing the actor. He's just playing a character named Max Schreck.
Oh yeah,
that's where they got.
Never put those two together.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yep. I'm not a fan of Batman Returns, so.
Yeah.
And Nosferatu, apparently, I read it's in the public domain as of 2019. So get your camcorders and get out there and make your own version.
There you go.
Nosferatu.
There you go, YouTube. You can't give me a copyright claim for this one.
That's right. Make a what is it? A Sweded version, like they
Yeah.
did in Be Kind Rewind. Make your own version of
Do it.
Nosferatu and rent it out to folks.
That would be cool. I'd do that.
Rent it out to an unsuspecting public. This movie's 97% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, 87% audience, and Roger Ebert, just like Dracula, gave it 4 stars.
All right. Well, that was our first week of horror movies.
Yeah.
And vampire movies being the theme. The next week's theme is horror remakes, right?
Yeah, horror remakes.
So stay tuned for that, for some remakes of some very popular and beloved films. We will see if those remakes hold up or if they supersede the movies they're remaking. So stay tuned for all that. And thank you for watching, and stay tuned for some more Halloween movies for the rest of this month. And we will, anything you want to add?
No.
All right. We'll see you soon, guys. Have a good one.